Welcome to a new section. This section is all about decisions, and more decisions. And we are going to learn how to take decisions by the use of flow control mechanisms. That means there are multiple flow control statements such as if and else, while and do, and some other statements. So we will have a look at all of these control flow statements. First thing that I want you to do is go back to your code editor and let's create a new folder right over here. Let me name it as 03 flow control, and the first file that I'm going to create over here is called as drivinglicense.py. Let me put up a comment as usual. Now let's see what's happening. Louis wants to drive a car and he wants to know if he can apply for a driving license or not. So first let me declare a variable called as age is going to be of the type of integer, and let me assign a value of 13 to it. The first flow control statement that I am going to introduce in this video is the if and else statement. Suppose the legal driving age in your country is 16. So right now we can create a very simple if and else blocks. We can say if the age is less than 16, in that scenario I want to print out you are not eligible for a license. But what happens if you are more than 16? In that case, you are eligible for a license. So on the next line, we can simply say else. So that means you are actually more than 16 years old. And let me copy and paste it right over here. Here I can say you are eligible for a license. Let's have a look at what's exactly happening. Python is going to read your file from top to the bottom. On line number 6, it is going to create a new variable called as age, and it is going to assign the value of 13 to it. When Python comes to line number 12, it's going to try to evaluate this statement right over here. Let's see what's happening in this statement. My age is 13. 13 is less than 16. So this condition on line number 12 is true. And since this condition is true, Python is going to print whatever which is inside the if block. You can see the line number 13 is indented towards the right. So this is a tab space. So that means this line belongs to the if block. So Python is simply going to print out you are not eligible for a license. And after printing this block, Python is actually going to skip the else part because it's not the case with us. And Python will go to line number 16 where it will exit from the program. Let me just save the file and let me try to run it. So as you can see, we have the output, you are not eligible for a license. Now let's try to imagine what happens after a couple of years. So after a couple of years, the age would be 19. Now let me copy and paste the exact same flow control statement and let me put it right over here. Let me save it and let me try to run the file. So the second time we get the output, you are eligible for a license. And this is the case because on line number 21, you can see now Louis is 19 years old. Let's go back to our code. One thing that I want you to understand is it's not necessary to have an else block. We can simply write an if block. So let me put up a comment and let me just copy and paste this block right over here. Let me comment this. Let me comment all of this. So the only thing we have in our file right now is this variable age, which we declared as 13 on line number 6, and we reassign the value on line number 21, and we have this if and else block. Now I'm going to take out the else block and I'm going to left indent this line. So that means we don't have an else block in this condition. This is just the if block, and this is the next line. Let's see what's happening. Let me save the file and try to run the file one more time. So in this case, I'm getting the output, you are eligible for a license. Now let's see what's exactly happening. When Python comes to this line number 32, it's again going to evaluate this statement. In our case, the age is 19, so 19 is not less than 16. And since this condition will evaluate to false, Python is going to skip the if block. And since we are going to skip the if block, Python is not going to print this line. It will simply move to the next line. On the next line, that is on line number 35, we are simply going to print out you are eligible for a license, and that's what we get on our terminal. You can check the terminal one more time. Let me clear up all of these things. Let me run the file one more time. And that's it. You have the output of you are eligible for a license. You can also chain multiple if and else blocks. Let me show you an example for that. Now suppose after too many years, Louis is 100 years old. Let me just go and copy the code from above. So let me just copy this one and put it right over here, and let me uncomment all of this. Here we can start chaining our if and else blocks. So on the next line I can say else and if. In Python we write it as ELIF, that means else and if. So the next condition that I want to check is my age greater than 100. In that case I want to print out you are too old to get a license. Let me comment this one. Now let me try to run the file. Oh, but what is this? We are getting an output saying that you are eligible for a license, but that's not what we want. We want to print out you are too old to get a license. And we have a small bug, and that bug is exactly on line number 45. We are saying that if the age is greater than 100, but right now our age is 100. So in order to make this statement true, we have to say if the age is more than or equal to 100. Now let's save it and let us try to run the file one more time. And this time we have a proper output saying that you are too old to get a license.